Hi everyone, I hope you're enjoying your day off here. What I thought I would do is I thought I'd give you some little additional help on the Unit 5 test that we're going to upgrade on Monday and Tuesday. Hopefully this podcast will do that. There's also the Kahoots. There's some, I linked to the correct games on SOL Pass. I realized after the test I didn't have the right ones there. And they also did the study guides up there. So let's go ahead and start this. This is what I would know heading into this test. I definitely want to know the reasons that elected officials write laws. It's generally in response to issues or problems that are happening in the country. I would know the jobs of the legislative branch. I would know that they make laws, that they approve presidential appointments, and that they approve the annual budget. I would know that bicameral means that there's two houses. So there's a House of Representatives and there's a Senate, so that's bicameral. I definitely would want to know that each state, when we're looking at the House of Representatives, it's based on the total population of that state, how many people they have in the House of Representatives. I would want to know the cabinet departments, different regulatory agencies help carry out federal laws. That's their main job, making sure that people, individuals, companies are following federal law. I'd want to know that the president, one way that he influences policy making is through that annual State of the Union address he gives. I'd want to know that the federal bureaucracy is administered by the president, by the executive branch. The powers of the executive branch, really of all the branches, come from the Constitution. I'd want to know that. I'd want to know that the main function of the executive branch is to enforce the laws, executive enforce. I'd want to know the role of the judicial branch is to interpret, which means to define the laws. I would want to know that our national government has separation of powers, meaning that we have the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch, and they all do different things. They all have different jobs to do. I'd want to know the different checks and balances. I'd want to know that one thing the legislative branch can do to the executive branch is that they can impeach the president. It doesn't happen often, but it has happened. I'd want to also know that the legislative branch can override the president's vetoes. So when a bill becomes a law, last thing the president can either sign it or veto it. If Congress has 2/3 support in both the House and the Senate, they can override a presidential veto. I would want to know that the legislative branch can also impeach federal judges. I'd also want to know that another check the Senate has, the Congress has, that they don't have to approve treaties that the president has agreed to. They can, if the president signs a treaty, Congress has to agree to it. The executive branch can also call the legislative branch into a special session. So, for example, December 8th, 1941, Franklin Roosevelt called Congress into a special session after the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. I'd want to know that veto means to refuse to approve. I would want to know that federal judges are chosen. They are appointed by the president and then approved by the Senate. I want to know the legislative powers that are specifically in the Constitution are expressed powers. I would want to know that, I'd want to know that one way that only the president can sign bills into law. Senators, members of the House cannot do that. I'd want to know the steps for a bill becoming a law. So it's introduced in Congress, discussed in committee, debated on the floor, voted on by both houses, and then if it passes both houses, it's signed by the president, sent to the president. I'd want to know that individuals and interest groups help to shape legislation. They can talk to their senators, their representatives. They can send information. Large groups can go and talk to individuals, talk to senators, talk to representatives. I'd want to know that, again, another reason that Congress writes bills is to respond to a problem. One way that the president can influence public policy is appealing directly to the people. The easiest way for the president to do this is to is through a televised address. It's a way he can reach the most people. I'd want to know the different jobs, the different hats the president wears. So, for example, when he's talking about relations with another country, he's being the chief diplomat. I'd want to know that, again, the president can veto a bill if it disagrees with his agenda. I'd like to know that the media, I would want to know the media, the way that they can shape public policy is focusing attention on select issues. If enough people in the media feel an issue is important, it could be like the headline of a newspaper, or it could be the top story in a newscast. I'd want to know that seeking to influence legislators, trying to get them to vote for or against the bill is known as lobbying. I'd want to know about, one way that groups can, when it comes to lobbying, you can pay people to lobby for you. If your group is located in California, or you feel it's a real important issue, there are people who are their job is lobbyists, and you can pay them to go and lobby Congress for you. I would want to know that, just looking at my notes here, sorry. Individuals, even students, can influence policymakers. If you think something's a big enough problem, you write a letter, a group of you and your friends write a letter. That's a way to influence public policy. Some way, again, that individuals influence public policy, expressing your opinion, joining interest groups, just participating in politics, not being passive, not just reading something, but actually being part of it. Again, you can go out and you can help influence public policy by maybe campaigning for a candidate you like, or making sure they know what your views are on different issues. I would know the president's the 7 hats that he wears, the different jobs that he does. One way that campaign group, one technique used by interest groups that is very controversial is that they can make donations to influence politicians. And then the main goal of any interest group is trying to influence public policy. All right, so I hope that helps. Again, hopefully you'll watch this, take some time. We'll know who went to Google Classroom over the weekend and actually studied for their test. Have a great day, guys. Bye.